Welcome to the Kids First Co-Parenting Podcast, the podcast for smart, intentional, millennial moms raising resilient kids after separation and divorce. I'm Dr. Karalynn Royster, a child psychologist, coach, and a mom. After thousands of therapy hours with kids caught in the middle of high-conflict households, I'm here to help moms like you do it differently. From peaceful co-parenting to total chaos, I've got you. Here we talk boundaries, regulation, and how to raise a great kid, even if your ex is beyond difficult. This is Kids First Co-Parenting. Andra Davidson is a certified divorce coach, mediator, and the creator of the Better Than Divorce system. She works with capable, responsible adults whose lives normally run well, but who find divorce destabilizing. Through coaching, courses, and partnerships with family law professionals, Andra helps clients steady their emotions, communicate more effectively, make thoughtful decisions, and move through divorce in ways that protect their children and their future. Welcome, everybody, to another episode. I'm here today with Andra Davidson, and she is a divorce coach. One of the first people I met when I started doing Kids First Co-Parenting. I really wanted to bring Andra on to talk about how she got into this space and a little bit about the services she offers, because she's an OG, y'all. She's really, really good at what she does. And we're lucky to have her. So
That might be the first and last time I get called an OG.
I-
I'll take it.
You can take it. You can take it. I'm not really cool enough to say that, but I do say it. Andra, welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. I really appreciate it.
Where are you coming to us today? Where are you?
I am in Denver as well. I am in Denver Metro over by the Wash Park DU area.
I would just love to hear, maybe we can start with what it is that you do. What do you offer our community?
Sure. Yes. That's an important thing to start with, I think. I am a certified divorce coach. I'm also a trained mediator and I'm collaboratively trained. And all of that to say that I offer divorce coaching services for men and women, but I bring those training skills to that process. So I don't have a mediation practice, but I do focus on how we can reduce conflict and minimize the impact of the divorce process on parents and kids, and eventually come through on the other side better than you really thought you could, because it is, as anybody knows who's going through it, it is a consuming and depleting and overwhelming process. And my goal in working with people is to make it more manageable and help them find some hope and optimism and regain their confidence so that they can show up as their best self as often as possible through this process. And my company is called Better Than Before Divorce, because
I was going to
that's the
ask you
goal.
about that. Yeah.
I want people to come out better than before, better than they thought possible. And truly, so many people who are going through divorce realize that the place that they were in wasn't good, even if they didn't want it, right? Once they get through the other side, they realize, oh my gosh, all that stuff I put up with or dealt with or had to, look the other way. And now I'm finding myself again, and I'm feeling whole again in so many ways. And that process awakens this joy that I hope we all can find and everybody deserves. And eventually people can look back. My goal is to help them look back at some point and say, you know what, I am better than I was before this.
I have always loved the name of your company. One of the questions that I have always wanted to ask is like, do you really believe that? Do you really believe that people come out better? And I suppose we both could agree that sometimes not. And do you see that a lot in your work?
I actually do see it.
Yeah.
I created it because I came up with that name because I realized that's what happened to me. That's my
beautiful.
story.
Yeah, so beautiful.
And I shouldn't say in the past tense, I am so grateful to be in that place every day that I absolutely see it with clients, and I absolutely believe that it is possible. And of course, you're right. There are going to be situations, nothing is 100%.
Of
But
course.
in general, one of the foundational beliefs that I have during this process is that you probably can have a better impact on this than you think you can. Giving yourself permission to build on that, right? To work that angle of it, to really be intentional and say, I can choose something different because I want to get to a different place will impact the process.
Mhm.
And giving yourself that kind of awareness and again, permission to say, I'm going to work to do it is one of the biggest game changers.
Yeah.
So, yes, I do see it many times. It's one of my jobs with my clients is to remind them that something else is out there for them, that
Mhm.
they can be hopeful. And I do it all the time because I know how depleting it is to be in the middle of it. And you can't necessarily see, you know, the forest for the trees, right? You just can't. You're so in the weeds, you're so overwhelmed. But somebody else reminding you, look up every now and then, look up. There is sunlight coming through there. There is
Yeah.
sunlight coming through there. And that is sometimes just the space that I need to hold for people and the reminder that I need to give them because they can't necessarily see it for themselves.
I I think a lot about, like, the healing process post-divorce for kids in particular,
Yeah. Yeah.
but also for parents. I think we really do a disservice when we kinda come in with toxic positivity, right? Like, everything happens for a reason, it'll be so great. But what I'm hearing from you is it's not dismissing the pain and the experience and the confusion and the exhaustion of it all. But it is acknowledging that we can always grow from hard places and that your lived experience, as well as experience with many clients, is that somewhere down the road, you might actually feel better for it. Um, Even if you
Yes.
can't see that now.
And most people can't.
Of course
Truly.
not.
I mean,
Yeah.
most people exactly. I mean, and I think what you said is really important because I do think there can be this feeling for some people that, oh, you're just, got this Pollyanna approach to this, that, isn't this all going to be sunshine and rainbows if we just, say an affirmation every morning or
Yeah.
whatever. And the truth is that if that is something that builds you up, amazing. I love all kinds of tools that work. But the reality is that in my opinion, one of the most important things you can do during this process is acknowledge that emotional support is as important as any other support that you're getting, legal, financial, etc., because it directly impacts the level of conflict, it can impact the length of the process. Therefore, that translates to money, how much this costs
Yes.
over the course of how long, and critically important is what that conflict does for your kids, because we know studies have shown over and over again, it's not divorce that harms kids, it's the conflict.
Mhm.
It's the toxicity that they're experiencing between parents and family members, and when we, as the adults, choose to minimize that for them and
Mhm.
to approach this in a way that we want to keep them out of that part of it
Mhm.
and that we're extremely intentional about that, it can be done.
Yeah.
And to your point, that's not just dismissing it like it's all going to be okay. It's actually showing that we can get through hard things. It's okay to model to your kids, yep, this isn't the easiest time of my life,
This is
but
hard. Yeah.
this is hard, but I'm a strong person and I can get through it. And you're strong and you can get through it. And together as a family, that's what we'll do because we're here to support each other.
Mhm.
And pretending like those things aren't happening doesn't work.
Ugh. I have a whole podcast episode on why just ignore it is terrible advice.
Mm,
Because I think
love
there
that.
is a little bit of like a burying your head in the sand. And I wonder too if this is one of the places where divorce coaching really works because we know in stress, sometimes people do shut down and do kind of go into a place where they're immobilized. And I suspect, you tell me, that this might be a place where coaching's really helpful, where you can be like, "No, no, this I need you to do this," you know?
It is, and one of the reasons I love that thought, Carolyn, one of the reasons is because everything feels like a 10, right? The
Yeah, yeah.
priorities all feel the same. Making dinner feels as significant as reviewing your financial statements
Mhm.
and getting your kids to a doctor's appointment or managing a handoff with your soon to be ex or your ex. And all of those things feel equally big and overwhelming. And part of my job as a coach is to help people break it down into manageable, more bite sized pieces so that they can understand, okay, this might be a 6. This I might not even have to deal with for a little while, like giving yourself permission to say, this can come off the table. What do I need to do today? And that's a question that I like to have people answer. What actually has to happen today for you? What can we schedule out a little bit? What do you have to do versus can you ask for any help with anything?
Mhm.
A lot of people during divorce don't know that they can ask for extensions on things with
Yeah,
their lawyers.
yeah.
Like the financial, disclosures are huge and they can be very consuming. Lots of information to dig up and put together, and it can be a lot for those of us who are working, parenting. It's not like you just sit down and, bang that thing out in 30 minutes.
Right,
If it is causing you stress and you need the extra time, you have that option, but people don't necessarily know it. And those are some of the small but practical ways that a coach can help you just, time out, time out. You don't have to do all this at the
right.
exact same time. And
And
they don't always realize it.
I find a lot of mental gymnastics in that space of,
Mm,
well, if I ask for this, is it going to look this way? Is my attorney
absolutely.
going to be upset? Is this person going to be upset? Is it going to look like I'm hiding something, particularly on the financials, which is less
That's a
my
great
area?
point.
And I
Oh my
think
gosh,
that's
that's
where
such a good point.
coaches can really be like, okay, actually, no. Or it might, but does that really matter? Is that
Right.
kind of your take on it?
For sure. And actually, I think that's such a very valid and important point that you bring up, which is the assumptions that drive us generally need to be challenged. You are exactly right. There is a lot of assuming that goes into all of these pieces. I want to look good. That if I do ask for an extension or I ask questions, I won't look as good to my attorney, or they might not think I'm as smart or as prepared, or they might not like me.
Yes. Yes.
I Attorneys are very often surprised when I tell them that clients ask me, "Do you think my attorney likes me?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" They ask if I like them. It doesn't matter. I know it doesn't matter, but they don't know that.
And
And
it
they
does
feel
matter to these people that are in the worst time of their lives in some cases, you know?
for on that side it matters. It doesn't matter in terms of they will zealously represent you whether they like you or not. They will absolutely advocate for you in every way because that's their job.
Yeah.
They don't have to like you to do their job well. We all want to be liked. It doesn't feel good to
I
think that
like
your
that you're
attorney
like,
doesn't like you,
they might not like you, and that's doesn't matter. Yeah.
but that's not where your energy needs to be, right? We
Yes.
have to choose where we put our energy when we're wiped anyway, and on a normal day, let alone when we're depleted. If we're spending our energy trying to decide if our attorney likes us, my point is that's probably not the best place for your energy. What I like to remind clients is that we can set the tone that you want. You can ask any question that you want. This is your process. You're the driver. It's your life. You bring that team together because you want the best possible group of advocates for you to help you get to what you want. But a big part of what I do is help them define what they want. Some go into it and you just, I want to get through this. Okay. Well, we're going to get through it. What feels like success for you on the other side? And that doesn't mean taking everything, right? That means what can you live with? What feels reasonable? What kind of a That's one side of it. The other is the more sort of optimistic, visionary piece. So when you close your eyes and you think of your life in 3 years or 5 years, where do you want to be? Who's around you? What are you doing? Are you traveling? Are you working? Are you doing a hobby? Are you in a whole new location? What is it that would light you up? And let's look at how we factor that into these plans.
Mhm.
If we know that you're ready to move on from that house that you've been in forever and
Yeah, you don't wanna live there.
go travel, you don't want to live there, okay, that can be a really important piece of information.
Mhm.
On the other hand, if we know you do want to stay in that house for whatever reason, and that is really important to you, that's an important piece of information. There's no wrong answer to that. It's just helping you to prioritize so that your team can help you get to where you want to be. But if you don't know what those things are and you haven't articulated them, the team can't help you get there.
Right.
So a big part of what I do is work with clients to define their goals and help them figure out what do they really, really want, what feels right for them out of this process so that they can get there. And that also gives people a reason to be optimistic and hopeful, right? Because
Mhm.
now we're all sort of marching to the same tune here and we're working towards something that they are excited about. And that little spark being lit again is everything,
Yeah.
right? We wanna find some reason for you to be excited.
Well, I'm thinking a lot of 2 things. One thing is I'm thinking about a client that I've worked with that was very much in the, "I just wanna get through it. I just need to be done.
Yeah.
I need this person out of my life," and wound up with a parenting plan that's really not good, like, just
Mm,
really doesn't work for them. And so I love this idea of the end point and thinking about that. And yes, you wanna be done with them. You will be done in some ways, not in a lot of ways. But what do you want that to look like when you're done? What is that gonna feel like? And the other thing I was thinking about is I was telling you before we started recording that we took our kids skiing this past weekend, and the only way down the mountain is down the mountain. Like, you get to the
it's a
top,
great metaphor. Yep,
you
yep.
gotta do it, right? Like, you're getting down there one way or another. It's really just how are you gonna do that? And how are you gonna do it in a way that feels not terrifying and not like you're just flying down a black diamond and you're not ready for that. You gotta take the turns. You gotta go slow. You gotta be strategic and plan out what you're doing.
Exactly, and I bet they had a great sense of accomplishment when they got down.
You do something you didn't think you could, but you're at the base
Absolutely.
and you look up and you're like, "Wow, I just did that. That's incredible."
Exactly. That's such a it's a great metaphor
I
for
know, I
what.
just came up with it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it because it really is accurate. We go into this thinking, "I'll never get through it," or
I don't wanna be here.
I don't wanna be here. I can't imagine what my life will ever look like."
Mhm.
And I say that, with personal knowledge of how that feels. That is exactly how I felt. I got divorced after 20 years. It wasn't my choice.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
I
you about
was
your
Yeah,
journey
and
to this work. Yeah.
I I think it's important to share because I want people to know that if I can do it, they can do it because I am no different. I was married for 20 years being, that person in my family was such a huge, huge part of my identity. It meant everything to me. At the time that I got divorced, my twins were 14. They're now 26, and they're amazing. And they were amazing then. And I really sort of describe myself as a, puddle on the floor for a good long time there. And
Mhm. You were
what I
devastated.
realized though, totally, totally devastated. What I realized, thankfully, not too far in, was that I did have a choice about how I handled it. That I could create a healthy co-parenting relationship with my now ex, and that we could still choose that. Even though there was pain and sadness and hurt, all the things, we could still choose to be good co-parents to our kids or not. That was a choice we could make.
Mhm.
And I wanted that very much. I wanted it because I know, and I know you know better than anyone, as the role that you play in the world
Mhm.
is helping people to understand the impact of losing those relationships, right? Of damaging those, especially those primary relationships. I don't want my kids, I didn't want them then, and I certainly don't now, to be any more damaged by also not having a good relationship with their dad or not feeling like they could come to me, that I was strong and steady enough to handle whatever it was that they had going on. I
Mhm.
didn't want to be so consumed and saying anything that was negative about their dad, which, as you know, then translates to them not feeling comfortable coming to me because I'm not safe. I wanted to be the safe person. I wanted to be there so they could come to me about anything,
Mhm.
whether it's their dad, whether it's me, whether it's something else. And Lord knows I was not perfect about this. There's
Of
no
course.
question about it. But I tried very hard to prioritize their well being, even though it was hard for me with, that relationship with their dad. But you know what? It paid off every day since. I think that my kids saw me model resilience and determination and strength and the ability to find perspective
Mhm.
and look for something positive, even in the hardest of
Yeah.
circumstances.
And what
And
a
there was a lot of
gift.
positive.
What a gift to give them, because like you said earlier, it really is the conflict that hurts kids, and no one's hiding it. Parents tell me all the time, like, "Oh, they don't know that we don't get along." And I'm like, "Yeah, they know.
They
They
definitely know.
definitely know. They
Yeah,
always
they
know."
definitely know.
And
People like to underestimate that because it's more convenient. They don't want to if they it's very hard to think about. It's painful if
mhm,
you decide to tell yourself that they don't know and you really want to live with that. It feels better, but it's not accurate because we know how smart kids are and how perceptive they are, and they're seeing this stuff. They might not be talking about it, but that doesn't mean they're not seeing it.
I wonder your thoughts because when I initially and I tell my members this, but when I initially started down this path of coaching, and I still feel very passionate about collaborative co-parenting and how beautiful that is and how much it benefits kids. The folks that I find that come to me and need my support often desperately want that, but are co-parenting with someone that either will not do that or cannot do that. I don't know which way to even say it. And so I'm curious your thoughts on coaching and how you support people and it seems like maybe parallel parenting is the better option. And keep in mind, both of us know these are the exceptions. A lot of parents, I should say, can settle and can get there and can do collaborative co-parenting over time, but there is a very small percentage that are what we call high conflict, which we kind of don't love that term because usually it's one person that's more
That's true.
high conflict.
Yes,
But I'm just
very
really
true.
curious your thoughts on like when you might support or coach somebody to give a little more space or to do more of a
I
parallel.
think that's a great point. No one situation works for everyone. One of the hardest parts of this, and I bet you deal with this all the time, is realizing that you can't make that co parent do anything.
No.
You cannot force them to be the person that you would like them to be or the parent you'd like them to be. There are times when the very best thing that you can do is be the parent, the environment that is healthy, safe for your kid and know that that is the best you can do. And you show up with integrity and boundaries and you are clear about that, but you can't necessarily solve for what the other person is doing. And if that means that you parallel parent without having to engage because that would create more conflict and hence more damage,
Yeah.
I'll take that trade any day.
Mhm.
You know, I always recommend to my clients that you take care of your own world first
Mhm.
and you don't do any of these things that we're talking about, take the high road, whatever, because your ex deserves anything. It's
Mhm.
not about what they deserve or don't deserve or what you want or don't want to do for them. It's about how you feel about yourself. You
Mm.
do those things. You show up the way you want to because you will look back on this time and say, I showed up the best I could during this time for myself and my kids. I did the best I could at this time. I was intentional. I was thoughtful. I offered the high road. If the other parent didn't take it, that's on
I
them.
can't do that. I
I
can't
can't do
I
that.
don't control them. Yeah. I mean,
Not
that's
at
so
all.
beautiful. This I just love how you so, You just nailed it. Like, you do it for you. You do it because it's what is right and good and true and authentic for you as
Yeah.
in that situation.
That's what truly made the difference for me personally. Because when I found that as my motivator, I'm doing this because this is who I want to be for my kids and
Yeah.
myself on the other side of this, and not because he did or didn't deserve anything. It didn't matter at that point, right? What mattered was that I wanted to look back and say, I did the best I could.
Mhm.
That awareness shift for me was what made the difference. It
Yeah.
brought me a lot of peace. And that's what I want for people, right? Otherwise, we're chasing, I feel like, this unachievable thing of making somebody different. It's never going to happen.
If you might still be partnered. If you were
Right.
gonna if that
Exactly.
was gonna change them,
You couldn't
and
change it in
it's definitely
small
in
chance you're
order.
going to do it now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that I remind people is you can always move out of parallel parenting. If after the dust settles and the hurt and the healing has if you're in a better place, you can be more collaborative. You can be more friendly. You can, dare I say, have a friendship. Like,
Absolutely.
you can
There
always
are
pivot. You can
You
always
can
pivot.
always pivot. It's easier to loosen boundaries than to tighten
Yes,
them. So
the
start
truth.
off, with some stronger things in place, especially as you transition out of a marriage and into a, you know, co-parenting, parallel parenting situation. That's the hardest time, right? That transition when you're in the thick of the redefinition of what is the future going to look like? Who am I going to be? What are they going to be doing? All that newness is so hard. Give yourself some space to get through that before you commit to, or not commit is the wrong word, before you say something else can't happen. Like, give yourself the gift of that transitional time, knowing things could change. To your point, this year might need to be parallel parenting.
Mhm.
3 years, 2 years, five down the road, you might be in a much different position.
Yeah, and I hope you are, but
Exactly. Oh, I
like you
so hope you
said,
are. Yeah,
I love that you said about, it's so much easier to loosen a boundary than to tighten it. Andra, I would really love if you could share what you see some of the differences between, you know, I think you and I share that we recommend people work with a therapist as well.
for sure.
We love therapy. Therapy's great. How do you frame and how do you think about the difference between your work as a divorce coach and the
Yeah.
work of a therapist on the team? And even you might add in the attorney if that feels.
Yeah, I think it's actually great for people to see what the differences are.
Mhm.
An attorney, this is the sort of easiest, is,
Yeah.
they're to handle the legal dissolution of the marriage. They are going to handle the logistics, the paperwork, and the strategy. It's very important that they approach it in a way that meets your specific needs. So they're same way there are lots of different therapists, lots of different kinds of, you know, doctors, whatever it is, there are lots of different attorneys and they approach this process differently.
Yeah.
So it matters to talk to different people and see who's a fit for you, depending on what you want. That matters. So the attorneys play that really critical role. Therapists play an equally critical role, which is to help you understand big picture in a lot of cases. What happened here that didn't work? Why maybe did I choose this person who I'm now
Brilliant.
seeing might or might not have been the best choice for me?
Mhm.
Look, I'm not about blame. I say that because it will help you make different choices if that's what you want going forward, not because like there's oh, you shouldn't have or whatever. I fully believe we do the best we can with what we have at the time.
True. Yep.
And that was something that I came to a lot of peace with for myself. And I
Yeah.
believe it. And I think that in therapy, when you're looking at patterns and history and other relationships that are of significance and choices and potentially diagnoses and potentially medication, all of that is in the therapy realm. That is not something that I'm going to do as a divorce coach.
Nor should we in that role.
No,
It's
absolutely
not
not.
appropriate.
Absolutely not. No, it is not appropriate. I am
We
not
can
a lawyer or a therapist.
and we can we can see things. I can say, gosh, you were really triggered by that. But as a coach, I'm not going into why you were triggered.
Right.
I'm having you bring that to your therapist
Exactly.
or even
And
with your
talk about
attorney.
maybe,
I can
yeah,
say like,
talk about how
gosh,
to respond.
yeah, like you feel like they didn't listen to you here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about how to
So
frame your question better.
exactly.
Yeah.
That that's exactly right, and that's coaching. Okay,
Mhm.
so, divorce coaching then, I think, plays a critical role in that in-between space. I say that many of
Yes.
the hardest moments of divorce don't happen in your attorney's office, and they don't happen in your therapist's office. They
Yes.
happen in the day-to-day, in the moment, when you are doing a
Yeah.
drop off, when you
In the
got an
car.
email that triggered you, when you're in
Yeah.
the car, when your
Crying
kid
in the
tells
car.
you something,
Uh-huh.
all these things, right, that come up. Those are the moments where divorce can really take you to your knees. And a divorce coach is there in the thick of that middle time.
Yes.
I work with my clients sometimes several times a day, definitely a couple times a week. We're we're texting, we're emailing, we're having phone calls, we're sometimes meeting in person. I can go with them to their attorneys' meetings to help them gather their information. I help them get organized. Communication is a big thing.
Ugh.
We work a lot on communication. How do you respond? How do you not respond to different things? And the truth is that if you're paying your attorney to do some of that, you're paying too much. That
Yep.
is not their highest and best use. And most of them will tell you that. They'll say, I'm overpaid and underqualified for that particular aspect of the job, right? And what that leads to oftentimes is frustration on both ends
Yes.
because the client feels frustrated. Oh my gosh, these bills are gigantic and I'm going to spend a fortune doing it this way. The attorney feels like, oh my gosh, I'm not giving them the value they need because I'm spending all my time on these little managing these one-off
These little
conflicts that
emails and
arise. Yes.
yes,
And yes, sure, all the communication can go through your attorney. At what cost?
right?
Financial and otherwise.
Yeah.
So having a divorce coach allows you to use each member of your team for their best use. And it allows you to be very, very intentional about how you address these conflicts in ways that last long beyond the divorce in most cases, right? Learning how to communicate productively, support your kids,
Hold
manage
your
your own,
boundaries.
yes, exactly, your own regulation, your own boundaries will last you many, many years beyond divorce. That's if you haven't already learned it, and many of us haven't for all kinds of good reasons, this can be a really beautiful time to say, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to figure out some of these things and take it into this next phase of my life in a way that I'll feel good about.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily want to repeat the same pattern. And the
Uh-huh.
risk of not doing it is going back into some of those things because they're what we know. And it's very
And
much
familiar is
human nature.
attractive. Well, I also see the benefit of having a divorce coach is they know the case. They know you intimately. You don't have to catch Andra up on
Right.
the 10 other text messages that made you upset about this issue because you already know them. And so
Yeah.
when I bring it to you and I'm like, we're still going back and forth about whether or not they can do camp this summer, you know the issue. And you already know, like, oh, this is a trouble spot for you. And I know why it's a trouble spot. And so let's go back. Like, I hear you. I see you. Here's the plan. And I hear that a lot from clients. It's like, it's just nice that I don't have to re explain everything.
Yes. It is because it's tiring to do that all
It's
the time.
tiring. And a lot of people don't get it. Just your casual friendships or your mom or whoever it might be doesn't get it in the same way that someone that is in the field and knows this.
And I think that's a really great point, Carolyn, that I think people should take a second to think about, which is that, we all need our support systems, our family, our friends. That's an integral part of this process too. But everybody also brings their own divorce baggage to situations. And sometimes the advice can be not appropriate for your situation. It might inflame it, it might just not be the right answer for you. And your people are team you. I mean, I always like to say that. They're trying to be loyal and supportive of you. So I'm certain their heart is in the right place. But the reality is that that advice may or may not be what is the best in your situation for you. And there is a point of overburdening those friends and family with what's happening and getting support that is professional, that is trained, that knows how to help you walk through a system that is not intuitive, will
And
give
very broken.
you and
Yeah.
very broken, so broken, will give you the best opportunity to preserve and build those family relationships because they won't you're not pressure testing them, right,
No.
with more than they can handle. It does matter that you have that kind of support. I mean, honestly, my goal is that everybody would realize who's going through divorce that getting the emotional support they need is as important as any other part of the process. And they don't realize that right now. And I understand why. It's easy to put it at the bottom of the list because it's expensive and it's overwhelming. But when you do it right, it actually can save you money.
Yes. It saves a
And
lot of money and a lot of
yeah,
stress.
short term and long term, because hopefully you can, like to your point, if you put your time in about the client that you said before, right? If she just wanted to get it done and she created this parenting plan that
Mhm.
didn't serve her, she's going back to have to
Oh, yeah.
fix that.
That's where we're at now. Yeah. Yeah, it's
So
like it's
the
horrible.
attorneys
It's
are going
horrible.
to be paid again and again. Meanwhile, if you get somebody involved, one of the things I do is parenting plans. I help them draft it, not the legal document. I help them draft the bullet points. We go through the holidays. We talk about the things that really matter to them. We get into the weeds about, well, what's going to happen when this occurs or that occurs. Let's
Mhm.
think through it. We go way beyond the template and we really put together something that addresses those issues. So hopefully it will stand the test of time better than it would without
Yeah.
that effort. You
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, something might happen. It's not going to be perfect, but at least give yourself the best shot possible. And
Mhm.
by putting that effort in the beginning, you give yourself the better chance of it being something you can live with.
Yeah. When do you like to start working with your clients? Like, when would someone call you, ideally? Maybe they
Yeah,
can call you at any point, but
they can. So I've actually had great success with people calling me even before they've told their spouse. And the reason that that can be so successful is because we get so intentional about the messages that they send. One
Mhm.
of the things, if you're going to tell your spouse you want a divorce, obviously they may not be in the same place you are about it. They might be, and maybe they'll say, "Okay, yeah, I saw this
Yeah, I've been
coming.
thinking
That's
it too.
okay." Right. On the other hand, you might have a situation like I was where I'm like, "No, I don't want this." And then, he's in one place, I'm in another place. There's a lot of room in between there for
Hurt
conflict
and
and hurt.
yep.
Sometimes people call me even before so that we can say, okay, what do you think their biggest triggers are going to be, their biggest worries, their biggest stresses? How can you do this kindly and respectfully to manage that so that it goes as smooth as possible?
Mhm.
So that's one option. Most people call me once one or the other of them have filed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or have retained a lawyer. They may not have actually filed the paperwork, but have retained a lawyer. Sometimes, a lot of times, the lawyers are the ones who suggest they call and say they reach out after they've hired their attorney or maybe after they've had the initial conversation with their spouse and they don't quite know what to do next. And
Yeah.
so they reach out and say, I don't know what to do next. Sometimes they'll say, can you help me build my team? I'll give them lawyer recommendations, therapy recommendations, that kind of thing. Sometimes they say, I have my lawyer. I'd like to bring you into the
Mhm.
process. Usually it's pretty early on when they call me, but I do also work with some people who are post decree. So
Mhm.
that means, for those of you that don't know, that means that you are post divorce and there are maybe co parenting issues, something that needs to be changed. You can't communicate well, and we want to figure out how to manage that. So sometimes I jump in there. A lot of times it's in the beginning.
Mhm. Yeah. And I should clarify for our listeners, Andrew and I definitely move in some of the same spaces and do have some capacity in each other's domains, certainly. My work focuses a lot more on like protecting kids and moving kids through high conflict divorce. And I think about Andra, and I refer to Andra often for kind of more of that all encompassing moving through the process. And, I need help with the financials and talking to my lawyer and kind of the bigger, broader divorce coaching. There's certainly some overlap. And sometimes she refers to me with my other hat, which is as a psychologist, to work with the
Absolutely. I
kids.
mean, it's so important. I mean, I really want my clients to recognize that giving their kids the support that they need, independent of their parents, with someone like you,
Hmm.
is such a gift to give to your kids. Give them an outlet that's healthy, that supports them, that encourages them and sees them, gives them the space to communicate what's going on in, a really open and supportive environment. And
Hmm.
that's a real gift if you can do that for your kids. So yeah, I think I'm glad you mentioned that because I love sending people to you to do that, to give
Hmm.
their kids that gift. It really is a gift. I know I've said that,
Yeah.
but I feel that way. It's really important.
Yeah. Well, and I think coaches are a lot like therapists, are a lot like attorneys, right? It's a little bit like dating. You need to
It
find
is.
somebody, if that's not too triggering for our divorce clients, but
Right, right.
you really need to find someone that you trust, that you can talk to, that you can be honest and authentic, and you should
I
be
think one of the
discerning?
so much so. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, that's absolutely true. I always tell people I might not be your coach. That's okay. There's other great
Hmm.
coaches out there. Colleague of mine here in Colorado, also, we send stuff back and forth because we know we're, not either one of us perfect for everybody, right?
Right.
So
Right.
as coaches, we do that. I think one of the most sort of underappreciated parts of coaching is for people to realize that, smart, capable, accomplished, successful, whatever that means to you, adults in all other aspects of their life find themselves just on the ground from divorce in a way that other problems don't tend to do.
Hmm. Hmm.
Those people who are out there killing it in the world normally and pushing through and know how to do that find themselves with brain fog and overwhelm, and they're not able to sleep, and the stress is distracting from their ability to show up and do their job well or to parent well or both. And they're so confused. Like, this is not who I
Hmm.
am, right?
Hmm.
I do life pretty well. I show up. I know how to get through this stuff.
Yep.
And
Yep.
in this situation, I find myself just on my knees.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah.
And that is something I see all the time, these high functioning, highly capable, amazing adults
Hmm.
who are all over the place when it comes to divorce and just unable to focus and be productive. And they don't know how to wrangle that back in. And
Yeah.
that, just as a starting point, if that is how you feel, I think it's just so important for people to know they're not alone and they're not crazy. That is so normal. That is what happens.
What I hear over and over about the membership is it's just so nice
Mm,
to know I'm not alone, which
yes.
I didn't expect that to be the big takeaway, but it
Hmm.
is because you hop on Facebook and these single and divorced family groups are 20,000 deep. It's like
Yeah.
you're obviously not alone, but it doesn't
Right.
feel that way in the thick of
Right.
it. And so finding your support, finding your community. We both know Dr. Hick. Dr. Hick was on here and we talked about her therapy group. Like
Yeah.
there's so much available and your job is to just take the step and say yes and accept the help that is out here?
Yes. And that's exactly right. You don't know. I often say you don't have to know how to do it, just that you want to. And then if you can reach that first step, then we'll help you take it from there. So, relieve yourself of that burden of the pressure that you have to have all the answers. You don't. Just to ask for the support is amazing. Um, and I hope that people give themselves permission to do that without feeling like that's less than in any way.
Yeah.
It just isn't.
I often tell parents, good parents know when to bring in more people on the team,
That's right.
right? I don't know everything about how to raise my kids. I certainly don't want to look in their ears and check their eyes. And
Right.
I don't have any guilt about bringing in the dentist or going to the
Right.
doctor.
Right.
There's a lot of things I don't know. Good parents know when you need extra support, and we find
Great
it.
way to put it. I love
Yeah.
that. That's a great way to think of it.
Well, this has been such a lovely conversation, Andrew. I'm so grateful for you and your work. I'm curious, where can folks find you? How do they connect with you if they are? And we will link a lot of good links in the show notes, y'all, but I just love to hear what you would be a good way to get in touch with you, or where can
Sure,
we find you?
absolutely. Well, probably the easiest is my website.
Mhm.
It's betterthanbeforedivorce.com. And there is a link right there to book a call with me. I always do a free consult call. To your point, Carolyn, it is a fit. It is about fit. It is about comfort level.
Mhm.
And I'm always happy to talk to anybody about what's going on for them. Is this a good fit? Would this be appropriate? And see how I might be able to help. I
Yeah.
would be honored.
I love that. And again, we'll put contact information in that website below. But I thank you so much for your time and all the hard work you're doing in our community.
Well,
It
same to
really is a
you.
gift.
And I feel the same way about knowing you and what you're offering to people. And I really appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is Dr. Royster coming in to you to let you know, my wonderful listeners, that we've made some really exciting changes to the Kids First co-parenting system, because co-parenting with a difficult ex is not something that you go through a program and you come out the other side and it just magically works. That's not how this works, unfortunately. And so we've revamped the Kids First co-parenting system to be a membership. Come in, get your first month half off, get all the lessons, get your video coaching with the group and myself, of course. Stay as many months as you need, get the support you know that you need. We are here for you. We're inside the community. We've made it a membership so that it can be so much more accessible and affordable for moms just like you. Join us today. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Kids First Co-Parenting. If you found this helpful, the best way you can support the show is by following, rating, and reviewing wherever you listen to podcasts, and by sharing it with another mom who could use the support. You can also connect with me on Instagram and Facebook at Learn with Little House, where I share daily tips and encouragement for moms raising kids through high conflict divorce. And if you're ready to go deep and get more tools, scripts, personalized support, and coaching, come join us inside the Kids First co-parenting community. You'll find the details at learnwithlittlehhouse.com. Until next time, remember, your kids don't need you to be perfect. They just need you to be steady and grounded, and as always, to put them first. Thanks for being here. Just a quick disclaimer. This podcast is for general information and education only. It is not legal advice. It is not mental health treatment, and listening does not create a therapist-client relationship. Laws and clinical needs vary, so please consult a licensed professional in your area who can evaluate and help you with your specific situation. And if you are in a dangerous situation or feel unsafe, contact local authorities or domestic violence resources right away. If you believe you are in imminent danger, please contact 911.